time for the Burning River Sportscast. Browns 29, Ravens 24. We'll break it all down right now. Welcome into a very special Game Day Live edition of the Burning River Sportscast, presented by the fine folks at Tappan Media. I'm Kenny Thunder. Joining me tonight, if the ice were as thin as his hair, he'd fall through. He's Red Hot Ronnie Jams.
Damn, man, come on.
And tickle him anywhere because he's one big bone. The Big Bone Man is with us tonight as well. Good evening, gentlemen. Happy to have you both.
I hate you.
Back to Red Hot. Where can our listeners find the dopest dope they ever heard on a podcast, a number one rated football podcast, and all the good pods, as well as the unofficial podcast of Cleveland Browns backers everywhere.
And the official podcast of some Cleveland Browns backers somewhere.
Somewhere.
You can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Podcast, Castro, Good Pods, where we're a number one rated football podcast, and so many more. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, the only place that you can find our video podcast, and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handle for all those is at Burning River Sportscast, and we are on X with the handle at Burning River Pod. And while you're at it, check out our merch, www.thetappanmedia.com/shop. All kinds of stuff in there, river gear, Chubb gear, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, that's a good one. Cincinnati is in Kentucky gear. Yeah, get you some.
It's all there.
And guys, before we get started, I do real quick want to give a shout out to some of our sponsors. Towpath Distillery. Towpath Distillery, an award-winning craft distillery located in Akron, Ohio. Towpath Distillery focuses on high-quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Towpath Distillery, handcrafted, award-winning, small batch, local, and family-owned. And True Fan Travel, they make away games, home games with all-inclusive travel packages. They had trips to Las Vegas this year, they had a trip to Washington, and we are actually going with them on the trip to New Orleans next month. So make sure you join us. It's going to be awesome. The Dog Pound's going to take over the Superdome. That just happens to be the location of the Super Bowl this year. The event includes optional round-trip flight, private charter flight, 3-night stay at Renaissance, New Orleans, Père Marquette, French Quarter, a welcome party, which is an all-inclusive cruise down the Mississippi River with the Dog Pound, Q&A, an autograph session with Kevin Mack, pep rally the day before, all-inclusive tailgate the day of, tickets to the game at the Superdome, and on-site trip coordinators to handle any issues or questions that you may have. Going to be pretty lit. Make sure you join us.
Heck yes.
But on today's show, what you can look forward to is a recap of the Browns game against the Ravens, our initial reactions, how we're feeling about the Browns, what we think the immediate future holds for this team, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. I know Kenny Thunder is gassed up and ready to go. So let's start things off by just reminding everybody to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline.
Yeah,
that's
call
right.
that.
Call us, leave us a message on the Hot Take Hotline. The number to call there is 330-227-8080. Call that number. I know everybody's got hot takes, especially now that we know that our starting quarterback from the beginning of the season is complete trash, and all it took was a halfway competent one to win some games.
Yeah.
So, let us know.
Time.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. We want your takes so we can put them on air, talk about them, laugh about them, whatever the case may be. But with that, let's go ahead and get right into the Week 8 recap. Before we get started, though, I do want to talk about Jim Donovan. Obviously, this past week, just a few days ago, passed away. It was extremely sad. I know everybody in Browns Nation that watches the Browns regularly has at least one memory of Jim Donovan calling a game that you just jumps to mind. And it was almost like he was part of your family because he was in your home every Sunday afternoon that the Browns were playing. So obviously thoughts go out to the family. Kenny, Bone, you guys got any stories or anything you want to share here?
Just I mean, the voice. I mean, Jim Donovan, there will never be another like him. I mean, we were just so fortunate, so spoiled to have his talent as a part of, like you said, our family for the last, almost 3 decades. I mean, longer than that, even as just a sports reporter, but basically on the call for most every game since the Browns came back in '99. And, he just, like you said, he was kind of the soundtrack of my youth growing up, at least on Sundays, when you think back to traveling places, whether we were going when we were little, going to church or something back and forth, and you're waiting for the Browns game to start, waiting to get home to get the Browns game. And There just was nobody that could call a game like Jim Donovan. His passion for the game just unrivaled, unmatched. And just as a Browns fan, I mean, he truly loved what he did. And again, I just think we were so spoiled for so long. It's just hard to imagine. I mean, even today's game, thinking about like, man, what a call that would have been for
Yep.
Jim.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have been so excited. Bone, you got any stories growing up just listening to Jim Donovan?
I mean, he's just been the voice of the Browns, since they've come back, just as long as I can remember, at least. So yeah, having him not there. I guess it's been a year or so since he's been on the call. But yeah, just growing up with him as a Browns voice, and he's gonna be missed. And thoughts and prayers out to his family. So just sad day.
Absolutely. But I will say this: they did a lot of tributes to him. They showed the tribute on the jumbotron before the game. They did a couple things during the broadcast for him. I know a lot of the players talked about him after the game, before the game, what have you. And I just at some point throughout the day, if you were watching the Browns game, I feel like just about all of Northeast Ohio was a little bit teary-eyed at some point or another, watching those tributes roll in. So. What better gift to give Jim Donovan than a win against a division rival, especially the ones that stole our team, the Ravens.
For sure.
And so let's go ahead and get into the rest of the game here. So we'll start on offense because obviously that's the hot topic. The Browns, first game over 300 as an offense this year. First game over 400 yards as an offense this year. I mean, this has got to be like worst case scenario for the coaching staff, in my opinion. I know we won and it's exciting and it was great. And we'll get to Jameis specifically here again, who had the first 300-yard game for a Browns quarterback this season. But this has to be worst case scenario because you came into this game with all the questions. It shifted immediately after Deshaun got hurt last week from, oh, Deshaun's hurt. The last few weeks before that, we need to bench Deshaun. It's just Deshaun. He's the only problem with the offense, too. He got hurt. Everyone's mad at the fans for celebrating that we were going to be able to see some change at quarterback. And then to this week, where Jameis just takes the lid off of one of the best defenses, at least I guess they were susceptible against the pass, but one of the better defenses in the NFL. Just completely torched them, and the Browns win a game that they probably have no business winning unless it's like we said all season long. They're a good football team that just needed a competent quarterback.
Yeah, I mean that was never more evident than today at 1 o'clock. I mean, if you watched that first drive, I think everybody collectively went, "Geez, like where has this been hiding all year?" And it's just so frustrating to again think about if Deshaun Watson hadn't gotten hurt last week.
We'd still be seeing Deshaun Watson.
You'd be 1-7, and Kevin Stefanski would have finished.
Oh, we would have lost by 30 today.
Kevin Stefanski would have finished the press conference with, "I got to call better plays next week, but Deshaun still gives us the best chance to win." Fuck you.
Like seriously, I mean that I'm glad you went there right away because if Deshaun, if you stand behind that Deshaun gives us the best chance to win throughout this, like, are you actually blind? I know you kind of joked about it last week, Kenny. You said we should send him a cane in the mail because he's blind, but like seriously, like as a talent evaluator and as like any of these things, like what are you doing?
if you are honestly telling me Deshaun Watson gave you the best chance to win football games, like your sight is worse than Helen Keller's. Like it's unbelievable that in an NFL caliber talent evaluator that those words would come out of your mouth. And if they do, I can't trust anything else that you've ever said. Like, thank God you handed the play calling duties off because you're a complete idiot.
I mean,
you might be the dumbest person alive.
Is that in itself?
It's a fireable offense. Yes, it's a fire to say week after week Deshaun gives you the best. We all saw it today. The entire world saw it today. The Browns went from a joke to beating one of the best, probably 2 to 3 teams in the NFL, and all it took was mildly competent quarterback play. I literally said last week I didn't think we cut a reel out of it. Like, It's going to take a miracle, which would be a Browns quarterback throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns to beat this team today. Well, what happened? You had a quarterback throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you won a freaking game. I mean, look, this stuff isn't rocket science, man. Like, we watched the most putrid, sour, poor, awful quarterback play for weeks and weeks, and we've seen it for 3 years, and it hasn't gotten any better. Look, I'm done dogging on the show because like he sucks and he's got a long road ahead of him in terms of recovery. But like number 4 should never see the field again and dressed in a Cleveland Browns uniform. Period. And if he does, the fans should riot. It should be an all-out riot. It should be not Bottlegate, not we're going to throw our Aquafina bottles down there. Like the people should take the field. They should take the field and demand that they take him out of the game. And we're not sitting here watching this. We're not paying for it unless he's out of the game. He has no business being anywhere near a football field ever again. When he comes back healthy, that's like. Look, they can do whatever they want. They're paying him a contract, fine, whatever. But he never needs to see the field again as a Browns quarterback.
Yeah, that's fair. And Jameis Winston's final stat line, just for everybody out there: 27 of 41, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He only took 2 sacks for 13 yards. And I'm going to stop there real quick before I finish his stats. I'll come back to that. The 2 sacks for 13 yards. QBR of 84.6 and a rating of 115.3. And he did have 2 rushes for 2 yards added in there, probably short yardage type things. I think there was a QB sneak or 2 today. So, but let's go back to the sacks. All throughout this game, I'm online, I'm on social media, whatever, looking to see what people are saying as it's unfolding. And the thing that I kept hearing for all these what do we call the Watson people that are like
just the defenders? I don't know.
That's what it was. The Deshaun defenders. All these Deshaun defenders out there are like, well, the line didn't give the tellers back, and you've got DeJuan Jones at left tackle and all this stuff, and he actually has time to throw. I'm just gonna say it again because it's the same thing I commented to everybody today while we were kind of watching it. Deshaun Watson had top 10 time to throw in the league when he was playing.
All year long.
So I can, without even looking at it, I can guarantee you that even if you're right, and Winston had more time to throw, it was barely any because Deshaun Watson was already top 10 in time to throw this season. So it wasn't a much cleaner pocket. Here's the difference. Jameis Winston makes a decision and he goes with it. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't try and find the perfect, where nobody's around him. And even then, Deshaun couldn't find that guy. He makes a decision and he goes with it, and whatever happens, happens.
And if the protection broke down, he stepped up into the pocket.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
Into it.
There was so many. I think you texted first quarter. You're like, oh my God, he stepped up. He climbed the ladder. Like
his bone. Yeah.
It was great to see. It was amazing. I haven't seen football like this since last year with Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing how like this offense was curated specifically for Deshaun Watson. And literally every quarterback that Kevin Stefanski has had in Cleveland has been okay, has found some success, some modicum of success, except for Deshaun, who had the offense tailored specifically for him.
He's the only guy the guy that you tailored the offense for. Literally everybody else runs it better than he does.
Yeah,
so much better.
It's just beyond belief.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was frustrating to see today. Was what's this offensive line? I kept seeing things that were like, maybe the players were protesting against Deshaun Watson by not blocking for him. No, like they were doing the same thing they've done all year. I mean, it wasn't like we even ran the ball all that much better. I mean, I think we had 80 yards on the ground. Like it wasn't like the offensive line showed up and was a totally different group than they've been all year long. They just provided the same protection they've been providing Deshaun all year long. And the difference was you had a quarterback back there that was making decisions. And because he was making decisions and because he was throwing the ball vertically down the field, throwing it at the chains, amazing. I mean, when it was 3rd and 7,
isn't it weird
and we threw routes that were 8 yards long.
Isn't it weird that if it's 3rd and 7 and you throw for 8 yards, you get a first down?
You get the first down. It was so weird. I mean, the difference was you had a decisive arm back there that was making throws. And so, yeah, I'll give you that. defenses for most of the year have been able to pin their ears back, and they've been sending 5, 6, sometimes 7 guys at Deshaun Watson. And to the offensive line's credit, he's had top 10 time to throw. But they were coming after him on almost every play because they knew he was a sitting duck and he wasn't going to go anywhere. And unless he made a great play with his feet, he was never going to complete a pass. And that was what teams did to him all year long. The Baltimore Ravens, for the first time all year, they had to respect him throwing the football. So they couldn't just send 7, 8 guys at will. They had to play and play coverage and respect that he was going to make throws.
Yeah. Yeah, just night and day though. Between Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston, like we can go over all the stats and everything else all we want, but the eye test is the easiest thing to me. And you just watch him, and he was crisp, clean, decisive. Like he did everything. He looked like a real quarterback.
And look, like, you know what was, I think what was the most telling sign of like this offensive line, what is the same offensive line, is you still had a number of the stupid offsides penalties, alignment penalties. I think one time on defense, we had 12 guys on the field. Like, we had all those same stupid things that were happening while Deshaun was quarterback. The difference was you had a quarterback that could overcome errors in the game. Now you had a quarterback that when it was 2nd and 20 could make passes to still convert a first down on a series.
There was at least 3 times today where it's like 2nd and 20 or 2nd and 15, and he would throw it for 12, 14, 15 yards.
Just get a chunk, just chunk plays back.
And now we're 3rd and manageable again. Look at that.
Yeah, weird.
And like you said, there were still errors on the offensive line. We're not saying that they're without fault at all. There have been blown assignments this season and all kinds of things. DeJuan Jones, the fumble today, and Kevin coming out of halftime said that was just a miscommunication. Don't know if he's trying to protect DeJuan Jones there, but DeJuan Jones also doesn't play left tackle. So, but yeah, he completely missed his assignment. The guy came in free and hit him and took the ball out. But and to even, your point, he overcame that.
And even Jameis wasn't without fault, right? He put balls in harm's way, and thankfully for us today, like, they didn't cause turnovers. But like
Jimmy D, he had our back today.
Like, they will at some point. He'll throw he'll throw interceptions and make costly mistakes. But like, again, I just go back to like all year long, what have we been talking about? A couple of things, which is one, that Deshaun couldn't eclipse 200 yards. And he certainly wasn't going to get to 300 yards. He's never, as a Brown, had a 300-yard game in 19 starts. And the difference was when the chips were all on the table at the end of the game and you're running a 4-minute, 2-minute offense and you've got to score, Jameis took advantage of the opportunity. And even marched them down the field and they got points.
And even with the dropped interception, the drop pick by the defense in that last, like, what did he do promptly right after that?
Through touchdown pass?
Through another.
He made them pay.
Yeah.
And that's what good quarterbacks do is occasionally the defense plays well and they might get you, or you might have one slip and you have an overthrow that goes right to the defense. But when they give you a gift like that, you make them pay.
Yeah. And the thing is you look at the trickle-down effect. You look at the trickle-down effect of converting third downs, of keeping your offense on the field, and how much fresher that defensive unit was. I mean, look, like, this Ravens team looked like any other NFL team today, but like, this team runs the ball on everybody like crazy. Lamar Jackson escapes every situation known to man. And he made a couple spectacular plays today. There was one where Myles Garrett had a handful of jersey and he still completed a pass. Like, this team is notorious for just having an offense that can just run through and over everyone. But because the offense was able to sustain drives and move the ball down the field, your defense was able to get rest and get ready for the next possession. And they did a really good, I mean, you look at statistically, like, the Browns were the better team on the field today overall. Yep. If they would have lost that game, it would have felt real bad because they looked in all facets to be the better team on the field today.
Yeah, and so I guess moving on from the quarterback, though, Nick Chubb is another guy I want to talk about. I know the yards still aren't there, but to me, he looks significantly better this week than he did last week. There was a couple times that we saw the patience that we talked about last week was kind of missing, that his adrenaline was maybe running high last week. He was pumped to be back, trying to make a big play, pressing a little bit. This week he seemed to wait for things to open up a little bit better. And there was a couple times that, he was able to get chunk plays out of them, 7, 8, 15 yards of carry, whatever. And I thought it was good to see him start that process of getting back to the Nick Chubb we all know and love.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be a few more weeks before we kind of see like vintage Nick Chubb runs. I mean, to your point, had a heavier workload today. Felt like there were a few meaningful carries in there where he was churning the pile a little bit, which was good. But that Baltimore front is not a bad front. I mean,
No.
those guys
They were only
are
coming into this
big
game. They were only
and
giving up 65 rush yards a game or whatever it was.
yeah, I mean, that is a good run stopping defense. Not a great pass defense, but it's a good run stopping defense. And I thought the Browns did what they needed to do on a ground. It was tough yardage, it was tough sledding, but I thought the punch of Nick Chubb with patient running and vision, trying to get meaningful yards on second and third down, like he was able to shorten those third down situations and keep you ahead of the sticks, like, and then having Donta Foreman come in and be kind of the more power, I guess, than Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's got plenty of power, but like just another guy that just hits the hole hard. Kept them honest all day, and it also made them respect the play action for the first time all year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then another kind of somebody I wanted to point out on offense here. I'll do a couple because the receivers had good days. When the quarterback throws for 300 yards, people tend
The
to have good
receivers
days.
all look good. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel bad for Amari Cooper.
Specifically, though, Cedric Tillman. So that was kind of where I was going with this, Kenny. Is Amari Cooper departed a couple weeks ago now. And I'll say this: if Cedric Tillman continues to play like this, I mean, I don't feel as bad losing Amari Cooper because Cedric Tillman's young and he's making plays, and he had another big game today, 7 for 99 and 2 touchdowns. So
Yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row that he's really stepped up big. I mean, for a guy that the jury was kind of still out on, we hadn't really seen do anything the last 2 weeks. He's definitely impressed, and what I saw at him today, which was I think the most impressive, was um, first off catching the ball, but then having like the vision and awareness around to be like, where am I at, and try and fight for extra yards. That's something that we really haven't seen out of this young receiver, any of the young receivers that have been drafted by Andrew Berry ever. So, good on him. That looks like he's, maturing as a receiver and maybe is finding himself into a good starting role here, where it looks like he can be successful.
another one, Elijah Moore. I'm going to point him out because in the first quarter, I texted you guys and said Elijah Moore's ass because he had just dropped a pass. He had just like messed up I forget exactly what happened at this point, but he had just kind of caused a play to go haywire. And I was like, what is this guy doing? From there, he stepped up and he actually had a pretty solid game the rest of the way. So I take back what I said, not ass. He was just ass in the moment. Uh, but he's no longer ass, and he played better. So good game out of Elijah Moore. Jerry Jeudy, 5 for 79. David Njoku with another big game, 5 for 61 and a touchdown himself. And I believe the touchdown last game, if I'm not mistaken, was from Winston at the end of the game, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So 2 games, 2 touchdowns for David Njoku. Are we going to see the resurgence of Njoku kind of like we had? He was playing well with Flacco last year too. So
his touchdown today was another contested catch, wasn't it?
Oh, it was incredible. It was back shoulder fade, and he caught it like around the guy.
Yeah.
That's what I was just gonna say. I mean, it seems like they're developing some decent chemistry because both of those plays were I'm gonna throw the ball up and put it in a spot where hopefully only he can get it and rely on him to make the play. I mean, those were man throws and those were big boy catches. Like that's not easily done or easily accomplished. But the fact that he had trust in his guy just to go up and make a play on both of those just speaks to, I think, the work they're putting in together and then the trust that you have in a guy like Jameis throwing the ball to you.
Yep. So I mean, and then the only other person, not really offense, special teams, holding up his end of the bargain as far as scoring points today, Dustin Hopkins. Finally, we were able to count on him. He doinked one, but he made it. And
that was Jim Donovan. That was he pushed it back through.
Yeah, I was gonna say between that and the dropped pick, Jimmy D had our back today.
And he also had that headwind come in when Justin Tucker kicked his.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it holds true today, though. Dustin is greater than Justin.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we told you this week on the show.
Had the better day.
You
Yeah.
tried to get us, and we said no.
Yeah, well, thanks, guys. Thanks for keeping me honest. I
We're
appreciate
keeping
it.
you honest.
Yeah. And then let's kind of change directions here. We'll talk about the defense a little bit. I will say this. That Baltimore Ravens offense is one of the best in the league, hands down. Like there's multiple people that can beat you on that offense, and I thought our defense played phenomenally. This was by far their best game of the season, in my opinion.
Yep.
And like I know they gave up 24 points, and they were all honest points. Like they had a short yardage the one time, but other than that, they were pretty honest points. But that's a really, really good offense, and they played really well to be able to hold it down, especially given the fact that JOK went out with a neck injury, and Zell was out again, I believe, with a head injury, another concussion. So
6th concussion.
Was my preseason insane prediction.
He may have to retire.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I thought it was a just Goliath effort from the defense, given the fact that this offense is so good for Baltimore.
Well, yeah, you mentioned they gave up 24 points, but like this is a team that has been scoring 30 consistently, and making teams look silly doing it and running for. I mean, they were averaging over 200 yards a game rushing.
Yeah. Which let me point that out real quick. Derrick Henry, who is the league leader in everything rushing, 11 carries for 73 yards and a touchdown today. So they did their job against him. I mean, he still averaged 7 yards a carry, but I mean, they did their job against him. He didn't go over 100. He did get the touchdown, but again, I believe that was the one I was just talking about, the short yardage one where they kind of started close anyways. And but yeah.
Well, and honestly, I mean, if you take out Derrick Henry had one big run, I think, early on, for like I don't know if it was 20 or 25 yards. Like if you take that out of the equation, all of a sudden his yards per carry and stuff don't look all that bad. So, I mean, they had that one kind of lapse, but for the most part, again, this is a team that's been averaging over 200 yards rushing per game between Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and they held both those guys in check. So
yeah, and Lamar Jackson to that point, 8 for 46. Justice Hill 2 for 5, so as a total 21 for 124, which again yards per carry is about 6, but if you take that one out, it's probably more reasonable. And they just, I mean, that's what they had to do. We said that in our preview show last week. Is you weren't going to stop them. You had to at least somewhat slow down the rushing game from the Ravens.
Yep. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, the thing is when you're playing that team is you have to eliminate the big plays, because I think in the last like 2 weeks, Derrick Henry has had runs of like 81 and 87 yards like for touchdowns. So like if you eliminate those and you eliminate the Lamar Jackson, busted plays where he takes off and scampers for 35, 40 yards at a time, you have a shot to beat this team, and they did a good job of containing him all day long. The nice thing was, we've been a little bit hard on Myles Garrett a bit, but it seemed like today, like the rest of that defensive line really stepped up. I mean, they were able to get pressure at times with just 4 guys. I mean, guys like Zadarius and Shelby. I mean, they were
Mike Hall Jr.
Mike Hall Jr. Yeah, he had some flashes.
I heard his
today.
name quite a few times today. Yeah.
So it wasn't like Myles Garrett had a 3-sack day, but that defensive line in total as a unit played really, really well all day long.
Yeah, Myles Garrett actually had no sacks again.
No sacks, no.
I got a thing back and forth on TikTok or one of the socials with a guy today, and he's like, he gave me the whole, you realize Myles Garrett is double teamed and triple teamed, and I'm like, guy, we know. Like, we understand all that, but at some point you still have to make a play.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all the best defensive
ends. We love
ends
Myles.
are.
He's great, but you got to make a play.
All the best defensive ends are, and TJ Watt is. JJ Watt used to get that. I mean, Max Crosby gets that. Like, those guys get double teamed all the time.
Micah Parsons.
And you get that, and that's fine because it opens up opportunities for other guys on the line, which is good.
Again, we understand that part of it. We're just saying
Yeah, I mean, you look at especially like down the stretch, like the same way we expect a quarterback to make his imprint on the game somewhere in that final 2 to 4 minute drive. When the Baltimore had 2 drives there towards the end of the game, and you're like, man, if Miles comes up with a play here, like the game could be over.
I was really hoping for it. Like that. I was honestly in my head. That's all I was saying is like Miles Garrett, please get a sack right here.
Just one play, and this
Yep.
game's over. Yeah. And that's what you
So
expect out of your top guy. And look, again, I'm not dogging on his.
we love
I'm
Miles.
sure
It's
his win rate today was astronomically
90,
high and 90
99%.
plus.
Yeah.
And I'm sure yeah, I know he was fighting double teams and stuff all day, but like again, the whole thing is like you have to, and that's why they move him around on the line, right? That's why they do some of the things they do, and they run stunts and things because they're trying to get him one on one with an offensive lineman, and you have to make those instances, you have to optimize those if you're a player like Miles Garrett because you're going to see so many double and triple teams.
Yep, for sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, besides that, just a solid game all the way around from the Browns. Better than I thought they were even capable of playing from what we've seen so far this season. So
It's just funny. I texted you guys before the game. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just like the Jim Donovan tributes and stuff I was kind of watching this morning, and just kind of the good nature and feel we had around like just remembering like all his best calls and things. Like it just felt weird, and maybe it was the energy of like Jameis coming in. But I texted you guys right before the
well, he
game. I
made a
was
pretty
like,
good pregame speech too. So
yeah, his conversation with the reporter was stunning before the game, pregame, where he just got to repeat
Unwavering
himself.
faith.
Ultimate belief.
did you guys catch? Sorry, I'm derailing you a little bit, Kenny. But did you catch his post game press conference? Or
Yeah, he
not
kind
press
of went
conference?
back to it, and then he was dropping bars.
The interview. He's like giving this whole long answer about seizing the moment, and in the middle of it, he says, "You only get one shot, one opportunity." He goes
Yeah,
through like the whole Eminem thing and does I think like 3 lines from Lose Yourself.
yeah. He said there's a white guy up in Detroit that said this best.
Yeah.
um, but there was just something about today. I don't know what it was, and like I said, I picked the Browns to lose this game earlier in the week, but like I woke up this morning and just something felt weird. And I texted you guys right before the game, so I just felt like I had a feeling about today that something strange might happen. And the strangest things of all happened. The Browns won a football game.
That's about as strange as it gets this season. So especially against this team. Especially against this team.
Yeah, I would have all the games that they could have won this year. Like this was not the one that I had them
And
winning.
nothing that happened during this game changed my thought that the Ravens may be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league, like you said.
No, they're going to come out next week probably and pummel whoever they play because they're pissed off they lost this one. I mean, Lamar was visibly frustrated. I mean, when he threw that pass in the end zone on
Yeah,
fourth
chucked his
down
helmet.
and yeah,
Yeah.
chucked his helmet and was just livid. When Rashad Bateman dropped that pass in the sun, I mean, he
Oh
was
my,
pissed.
that was Jimmy D too. That was like, hey guys.
Right off his face mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jimmy D was not only the sun, but a blade of grass that made him like start falling down as he
yeah,
was catching the
grabbed his
ball.
feet.
Yep.
The
So,
grass monster got him.
um,
Uh,
but yeah, guys, I mean, we've covered the game pretty much as you can. There's not much more to say. Like I said, the Browns played phenomenally today, as good as they probably could have played. So let's go ahead and get into the Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week. We'll give our nominees for this week's Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week, and I'm going to start because you guys have started the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to go with Jameis Winston. Once again, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, completely revitalized this entire offense, and we look like a brand new team. As you mentioned earlier, Kenny, it trickled down to the defense, and it was like it was just crazy to watch because I felt legitimately like I was watching a different team than I've watched the last 7 games. So, Bone, who you got?
Oh man, let's go with Tillman. Yeah, big game. Just another 2 touchdown game, right? Tillman had 2 touchdowns today. So yeah, just stepping up. Second year guy, and he's kind of pulling through for us. So I hope this continues, and maybe we found another number 1.
Yep, I like that. Kenny, who you got?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go JOK this week, guys. I thought he had the biggest impact on the defense all day long. He was leading tackler, had the big sack. And had he not gotten injured in what was a kind of a scary incident there with, just face on with Derrick Henry, could have been a much bigger game for him statistically, despite the fact that he had to leave early. But I mean, his fingerprints were all over this game even before he got hurt. So I'm going to go
Yeah, I mean, he left in the third quarter, right? So
yeah.
Through 3 quarters, he had 7 tackles, 5 solo, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
he
think
was-
he was a big reason why they struggled running the ball because he was just blowing plays up. So I thought he had a phenomenal game. I mean, it's sad that he got hurt, but sad that he left because we certainly missed his presence on the field. I think Devin Bush maybe came in and played a lot of spell for him, and he was fine. I mean, they won the game, and he wasn't bad. But when you lose a guy like JOK, it's just like, I mean, he feels like he's in on every play. It's tough. So, but hopefully he'll get better soon. Hopefully it's not anything serious, and he'll be back on the field in no time.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll get those out on social media. Let everybody vote on them, and we'll reveal the winner on our episode coming out Thursday. And so with that, final thoughts, guys. This could be anything around the NFL, not just Browns related, but final thoughts on football this week. Bone, we'll start with you.
All right, I'm gonna defend Stefanski here a little bit.
Oh God,
I think
who are you?
Guys,
what is wrong with you?
I think today kind of proves the dude wins with a competent quarterback, like more times than not. And I think his hands were tied all season. I think they forced him to play Deshaun this entire year. I think he had to go out in front of the media and say he gives us the best chance to win. We're not making changes, blah blah blah, because he has Andrew Berry in his ear telling him to say that, or the owner of the team telling him to say that because they're trying to save face because they made the worst deal in NFL history. So I'm going to back Stefanski, and I think he's a pretty good coach.
I've been calling him Stefanik for the last couple of weeks, so I have to. You're telling me I have to stop? I have to call him Stefanski again?
That's up to you. You don't have to, but I'm like, he wins with a decent quarterback.
Wow, I didn't think we were going here. I don't think our show's ever been more divided.
Kenny's in shock.
Kenny, go ahead with your final thoughts.
You gotta go first. You gotta go first. I gotta regroup my thoughts here.
What the hell just happened? Bone, you threw everyone for a loop. I feel shocked.
Wow.
Kenny, I'm sticking with you. I'm going with you next.
I don't think my argument's crazy here.
What happened to Bone's camera? Was he so embarrassed he had to turn his camera off?
He was like, guys,
it got low battery mode.
Bad job out of your camera. Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
Kenny, thoughts?
I'll go. Final thoughts. I have 2. I'll do the first one first. It's quicker. It's nice to be talking about football again. Tonight we had a conversation about a football game. We were able to break down statistically and schematically a football game and talk about the Browns playing a game that was meaningful.
Playing a game on the field and not off the field.
Like a football team for the first time in weeks, which was, man, we needed that badly. But secondly, I am flabbergasted. I cannot think of a single word of defense for anybody in this organization. In fact, we were talking right after the game and it seemed like everybody's kind of happy. And I was like, no, I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off because we're 2-6. This is the most expensive offense in the NFL. The most expensive offense in the NFL that was in the playoffs a year ago. And we all had to watch them lose games for no reason. It makes me wonder from the top down. I'm going to exclude the players because I think that they're professionals and they're trying to do their damn job. But from the top down, organizationally, what is the motivation of owning this football team? What is the motivation of Andrew Berry in running this football team? What is the motivation in Kevin Stefanski in calling plays and organizing and leading practices and games for this football team? What is your motivation if it's not to win? Because it very clearly has not been to win football games. When you're 2-6 and you got this way intentionally, it wasn't like there was one guy out there like, hey, I'm not sure Deshaun's very good. It was the entire national media. It was the entire fan base. It was literally anyone with eyes could tell you the reason you're losing games was because you had the most suck-ass quarterback in the history of quarterbacks. We broke it down week after week after week that he was the worst passer in the league statistically. Not only statistically, but the eye test would tell you the same. There was not a single redeemable quality anywhere to be found. In addition to, like, personally, this guy's a dirtbag. And we had to sit there week after week and listen to Kevin Stefanski, of all people, tell us, well, I think he gives us the best chance to win. That's insanity. It's insanity. And if you say that to me, to my face, I can't trust anything else that you say because it was a blatant and obvious lie. I want these people, look, everything about that is fireable. I don't want any of these people near any picks in the draft about and building this team any further. They've all got to go because they're an embarrassment to football. They're not an embarrassment to the Browns or the city, or they're an embarrassment to football. People that want to win for a living, these guys, again, what is their motivation? Are they betting on FanDuel and DraftKings? Are they Pete Rosing it? But except for they're not voting on the Browns. They're not rooting on the Browns. They're not betting on the Browns. They're betting on them to lose games. Like, is that how Jimmy's funding the new stadium? We're gonna fund the dome with DraftKings embezzlement money. Like, I can't think of one redeemable quality about a single person in this administration. And the ball just came out and defended Stefanski. I'm flabbergasted because the guy lied to us outright week after week after week and said, this guy gives us the best chance to win. If that's what you're seeing, you are blind. You have no business anywhere near an NFL football team. And if you have any fortitude at all, you have any respect for yourself, you should come out and say, like, I didn't order the code red. Wasn't me. Because you look like an idiot. You're the one at the end of the day taking bullets for these guys. If it wasn't your idea to play Deshaun, and you could say, you come out and say it. Because until you do, I have to lump you in with the rest of them.
Bone, do you have a rebuttal?
I just think he had to. I think he had to survive. You ever see the movie Misery? I know Kenny has, when she put the block.
Fantastic movie.
And then she hits him and breaks him. He got hobbled. I think that's the term.
Yeah.
I think Stefanski was hobbled this entire season because he had to play Deshaun. He was forced to play Deshaun. And we saw what happened. And he had to go out in front of the media. They're not talking to the media. He has to go out there. He's the head coach. They have to do that. And I think he had to do it to survive, to be a coach. His family lives here. He's been here for the last 5-6 years, whatever it is. He doesn't want to get fired. So that would be my response.
Kenny, what say you? What say you?
I think the difference is when Paul Sheldon came to be and escaped. Who was it, Kathy Bates, or who was that in that movie? When he escaped, he told everybody. He was like, "This lady knocked my feet off with a sledgehammer." Come on, Kevin, who knocked your feet off?
Boom.
That's what I want to know. I want to know who did it.
I want to know too.
Let me blame the appropriate party, but until I can blame the appropriate party, I have to blame you, Kevin.
I'm not a huge Kevin Stefanski guy. I'm just saying, when he's given a quarterback, he wins football games. He's been winning football games with a decent quarterback. And I point to Jameis, and I point to Joe Flacco, and I point to Jacoby Brissett, and I point to Baker Mayfield back in the day.
Even more reason for him to say, like, this wasn't like, look, like, we all know the reason you were playing him, Kevin. It was the contract. We get it. Sunk cost fallacy. Come out and say it. Be a man.
He's not allowed. He wasn't allowed.
I'm so entertained right now. I'm having fun. You got more? Either of you got more?
Allowed. I just like.
I mean, this is all speculation on my part, so I don't have any facts. So I'm just.
Neither does Kenny.
Makes sense.
My fact is that Kevin Stefanski himself told you every week.
That's
this
fair.
guy gives us the best chance to win. Survey says, sticker.
You're just. Yeah, he's the face. That's all you're seeing. He's the one saying the word, so you're blaming him. But he has to say it.
He's in charge.
He's gonna get fired if he doesn't say it.
Okay, but then again, so then that's a question then about motivation, right? If Kevin Stefanski's motivation isn't about winning football games, it's about not to get fired. That's not a guy I want anywhere around my football team. You're just gonna be a yes man and do whatever you're told, even though you know it's wrong. God, like, Are these is this a general in Hitler's army? I was just doing my job, sir. That's who Stefanski is. Stefanski is Garbles.
You're so fired up right now that your internet can't keep up with you.
He's like, I can just get past Deshaun. Maybe he'll get hurt. And, hey, it happened. So here we go. That was good. I enjoyed that.
I'm letting this breathe for a second. You guys okay? Are we all friends still?
Oh, yeah.
Look, I'll give him a new final thought just because that
you got another one? We're giving Kenny 3 final thoughts.
This is my final thought. My final thought is just this, that, whether you believe in God or karma or just the universe, like, God made the decision that this organization wasn't willing to make. Karma made the decision. The universe made the decision that this front office and this coaching staff wasn't willing to make, and we were rewarded with the Browns win.
Oh, yeah.
Fair. And my final thought this week is just this. The Browns aren't back necessarily. I'm not saying that. But, guys, it feels damn good to not be so freaking depressed on Sundays. Like even if they would have lost this game in a close one, like at the end when the Ravens took the lead, but we were competitive the entire
They're 2-6. You're not depressed?
No, I mean, that sucks. But like
a team that needlessly was losing games for no reason.
Listen,
you're not depressed?
I don't want any more from the peanut gallery. You had your time to talk for final thoughts. All I'm saying is going forward with Jameis at the helm, I'm excited to watch the Browns play now. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, God, another week of Deshaun Watson running us into the ground, and the coach is coming out and saying he gives us the best chance to win. So I am excited about that. And I'm also excited about the fact that the Bengals got humped today by the Eagles, 37-17. And me and my uncle, who's a Bengals fan, made a bet at the beginning of the season that I said the Browns would finish better than the Bengals this year. He said the Bengals would finish better. And now I have a lot more confidence that we're going to be where we need to be. So
well, let me just tell you, your confidence is in the wrong place because Jameis worked today. Ken Dorsey calling plays worked today. So you know what is next on the Browns motivational chart for this week? Kevin Stefanski is going to call plays next week, and DTR is your quarterback. Good luck.
If that happens, I mean, I'm going to come back and I'm going to have some very dark thoughts for my final thoughts next week. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Somebody told us, God the highest 216. Kevin signed an NDA. I mean, he had to have, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, one more time. Let me remind everybody to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. Don't forget to call and leave your hot takes on the Hot Take Hotline. Do you agree with Bone? Do you agree with Kenny? Who is to blame for this debacle? We want to know. 330-227-8080. One more time. That's 330-227-8080. Call now. Leave your hot takes on the Hot Take Hotline. We want to hear them. We want to put them on air. We want to talk about them. And be sure to check out our gear, www.thetappingmedia.com/shop. And that'll do it for us. Kenny, what can we expect this week?
What can you expect this week? You can expect our normal show that will be out on Thursday this week, where we preview the Week 9 game against the LA Chargers. Another Browns backers interview with our good friends, the San Diego Browns backers, and also another entertaining conversation with our good friend, defensive correspondent John Hughes. Be back with us again. Hopefully there will be less to yell about and more to celebrate, so that'll be exciting. I'm sure he'll have a lot to say after this week, so can't wait to get his thoughts on where the Browns are and where they go from here.
Yep, and don't forget to check us out on social media. Tappin Media is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Tappin Media and Burning River Sportscast. That's this podcast is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Burning River Sportscast, and on X at Burning River Pod. And you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, Castro, Good Pods, where we're a #1 ranked football podcast, and so many more. Bone, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm going to go hang out with the wife. So with that, bon appetit, fellas.
That sounds sexual.
Don't just be a part of the problem, be the whole damn problem.
And only you can prevent river fires. Burning River Sportscast.
Burning Rivers.
Good night, Cleveland.
Good night, Cleveland.
Good night, Akron.